Hey guys, cool. So I'm running a little behind. You can come on in and I'll get started. So I usually like to skim through the film as well while we're talking and stuff. So I'm gonna keep this one on. So I have had the great pleasure recently to look into cinema history due to Hulu, right? So Hulu has this amazing Criterion collection, and you can literally watch films from all different types of nations. And I mean, so the collection itself is just so diverse. There's films in the collection that seem to be from Norway, and like just the most randomest places. So there are films here in, like Bayou type films, Cajun type films, where they in those films are like kind of like speaking their own languages and stuff. So it has a wonderful Japanese selection. So in this particular film that I would love to talk about today, so I want to do a new segment, and so I always get asked, like, what are some of the greatest films that I can go and watch and, review? Um, so I pride myself on finding these gems. For me, as a filmmaker, finding things so it's called harakiri. And that is another term for seppuku, and seppuku is a Japanese term for suicide by impalement of your own sword. So in this particular film, see we get to introduce to a particular character who has come to the stead of a lord. And in if you watch a lot of feudal Japanese films, samurais are in the order of a particular lord. They're amongst their ranks of their soldiers, and this is mostly territorial. So it would be as if you were a soldier in a particular county. So in this particular time, they war left a lot of samurai without jobs and occupation, as there were times of peace. And then there became no need for samurai. Some samurai got so down and out in these times that they would go to their nearest lord, and they would beg for money, and the lords thought that this was dishonorable to do this, to um, put this burden onto them, as obviously in this time there are not good like retirement plans and insurances for soldiers. Soldiers fought in times of war when they were necessary, and when times of war when they weren't, they just were around, and most of them became mercenaries. So this man has come to this place, and he's saying that he is a part of this establishment, and that he wants to speak to the Lord here. He explains what has happened to him, why he is down and out, and so the story gets very deep and complex very quickly. So there is a lot of nativity at first by us all. So as I am not keen on of Japanese feudal ways until I'm shown by my exposure to it through many different films. So, in this particular film, I had not known what I was getting myself into, and the film becomes very, it becomes very conflicting very quickly. We become emotionally tied, seemingly unknown to us. There is this strangeness about what is happening here, and mostly the character that is here in the cinematography. So it reminds me of very much a lot like Alfred Hitchcock, and a lot of his shots and the way he shot and particular things. So this film is quite slow. Okay, so in the manner that these people don't, they're not like rush hour traffic, and you can get across town in 10 minutes. These people like ride horses to get everywhere, walk, like introduce themselves, and like they're quite formal, and the world is very not industrialized and is very farmish, peasant-like town, village type stuff. So this man begins to introduce himself to the Lord and begins this story. And this story sounds all too familiar to this Lord. And as we progress, it seems as though that there is a conflict with this. So, this meaning the samurais presenting themselves to these lords and expecting money in return for nothing. Granted, they have given their lives, some, obviously not the ones that are surviving, right? But they served, these lords, and when they feel as though is in the time of needs, that they could help. So they go to these people for help, and these people not only do not help them, but in some instances oppress them for this, and ridicule them, and some even worse. So in this particular movie, what we do is as this story becomes all too familiar to this Lord, more and more is revealed. So this story is so it's quite progressive. So this story, we find small tidbits and pieces. So this guy thinks this story is too familiar. Okay, so, and he begins to test this man in particular ways. So he has come here, and he has asked to use his courtyard to commit suicide, and all of it is a ploy to have this Lord just stop the ceremony and say, here, this is not worth your life. Please just take this money or this food or whatever it is that, some of these lords have done for these types of people. So apparently we're pretty long into the peacetime. Okay, so this shit has happened all too much for this Lord. Okay, so and to tell this guy the story of the similar account that has happened recently, and he asks the Lord asks the man, does he know this man? As his story is all too familiar. And he off mostly, like he doesn't. And as we continue through this process, this Lord explains what happened to this man who had come before him. And he tells this story. And in this time, so this movie is in 1962. So they actually jump around and they use, so when he's telling the story, he only begins and then the time changes to a different time. So how I get linked to some of these is I've watched some of them blindly, and then some of them I know some of the actors from other films. So it is really, really cool to get to see these actors in these different parts. And some of them are always samurai, some of them are good samurai, some of them are bad samurai. One is a kind of like a preacher here. Later on, I think I see him as like a beggar in another film. So, it's just cool to be involved with this time period of films. So these filmmakers are quite prominent. But anywho, let's get back to Kiri. So we are listening to this Lord tell the story of this man who had come before him and asked to do seppuku in this garden. And the story goes on to lead us to that the guy before him was just bluffing. Okay, so he was never going to kill himself. And these people let the ceremony keep going and going and going and going. So they not only didn't call him on his bullshit, but then when they found him in his bullshit, they made him go through with it. So this fucking samurai was so poor that he had sold his fucking sword. And the sword that he had was a fake. It's a farce, right? So he had a sword with him, and he was saying he was going to commit suicide with this sword, and the sword wasn't even real, come to find out. Okay? So these guys make him commit suicide still with his own bamboo sword, make him stab himself into his gut, and then attempt, and they make him. So they said, so in these times, it has become more of a common practice to have an assistant. So you don't actually do the seppuku yourself. You act as if you're going to, and then the guy cuts your head off. So you have a second. It's like a spotter. Only this guy's going to help you kill yourself, okay? So the Lord here is saying that in this ceremony, we're old school, okay? So there's no backing out. And he let this be known in many different stages that there's no backing out. So the boy samurai, and he's young, okay, cannot back out, and he's trying to call the bluff. So he doesn't think that they're going to make him kill himself. So he is continuing through this. So I mean, and we don't even know at this point that he's bluffing, okay? Because we haven't been revealed to that this sword is fake yet, okay? So he gets to a point to where they're out there, and if he's gonna die anyway. So I don't know why he suffers through this you know, or but anyways, they outnumber him. They're in a garden, and he's in a house of samurai. So, you know, it's just it's just really crazy. So they make him continue with this, and then old school, they're like, make him do it the old school way, and then it's with a fake sword. So we're literally here with him. So this is like some Gus Van Sant shit, okay? So this shit takes forever, okay? So you know, we're just fucking sitting here, like sitting him, we're sitting him, watching him trying to jam this fucking bamboo into his goddamn stomach, and try to pierce the fucking skin, and then he does, and then like he gets in there and he starts coughing up blood and shit, and they refuse to assist, and they're like, no, fucking do it the old school way, you know, cut your fucking intestines out. And he fucking tries, you know, he tries and he can, and he's just fucking crying. And so what he does is to even get himself fucking pierced to begin with, he had to fucking like jump on the ground, like impale himself like on the ground, like, you know, with this fucking sword. And this shit was wild. So this shit goes on for a long time. And it was quite fucked up. And so while this fucking goes on, and this is revealed in pieces and chunks and shit, okay? So as this shit goes on, this man tells him this shit, you know what I mean? And he's just, you know, dude, we're not gonna fucking give you any money, you know, like you're gonna go out there and you're gonna fucking die, and like this shit's not gonna be like respectable, like, you know. Yeah, so but anywho, so as this shit goes on, he agrees and continues, and is like, he starts getting picky with this shit. He wants to fucking pick his killer. Okay? So he fucking starts picking guys, and they're fucking these guys are the best samurai. He's saying that he needs to die by the best fucking samurai in this enclave. So he continues on with this shit, and he asks for his executioner by name. And the fucking guy's like, okay, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got somebody that can kill you right here. And the dude's like, no, man, like my fucking spirit needs to go, you know, like to, you know, this holy fuck place, right? So only way that he can do that is by, you know, having the death by his best samurai. So he demands a samurai, and the fucking samurai is nowhere to be found. They haven't heard from him in like a couple days or something. So he sends a fucking messenger to his house. They wait. We're waiting. We're getting to find out more about this guy as he waits and as he becomes more and more demanding. Okay, and this shit's interesting in the sense that he only gives them little fucking tidbits at a time, and you know, we're completely fucking naive as to what the fuck's happening. So he comes back, this messenger comes back and says this fucking guy is deathly ill and cannot fucking come. Like, this lord demands this shit. So he sends him back and says, you know, if it's not serious, that he must come. And, you know, so this happens to like 5 of his fucking best men. Okay? And now the shit has gotten upside down. Now things are very fucking odd and very fucking strange, and not in the manner where the Lord has control here, you know? So shit is very strange right now because 5 of his best men are sick, completely fucking ill overnight, and refuse to show their faces. And so as it goes on, it's revealed that this man has fucking he has started collecting this man's best soldiers, and he has their fucking top knots in his kimono with him, and he has each one fucking labeled with who the fucking owner is of this top knot, and he lets him know, you're so fucking old school that you're a samurai, so losing your top knot in a battle is losing to this samurai completely. He let you live. He took your hair instead of your head, and then let you go shamed back to your people. And for this to have happened to a man is to be completely conquered by this man. So that is the way of the samurai. So for this man to do this and to do this to his best, so as the process was going on, the other samurai started getting weary, and so one fucking found him and then still lost in combat to him. So we now know that this fucking samurai here wanting to commit seppuku is insane, right? So he's taken out 5 of this man's best. So as this shit is revealed, it becomes increasingly so he reveals that the guy that he fucking humiliated and killed, that was his son-in-law. So his son-in-law, so the man has a daughter, and the daughter is his only daughter, and she builds hats and straw shits to sell, and that's what they sell, is these fucking baskets and stuff. So she's a fucking weaver, and that's what they do is they weave, and you know, that's how they keep up this fucking house and stuff in this time of peace. So while this work is enough now, it won't always be enough work, and it has not been consistent as recently as it could be, or it has been in the past. So the prospects for this young woman coming of age are really small in this village. So this fucking samurai's friend suggests that she be a concubine for this lord around here, and he was fucking disgusted at the idea, and he instantly sought to have her married to her fucking childhood love, which is the guy that they fucking humiliated and executed. He was also the son of this man's wartime best friend. So this boy is a family hood friend. So the man dies and leaves a boy that's of age already, and the man helps this boy And the boy's a fucking teacher, you know, and he was a respectable young man. Um, and you know, he asked the boy if he'll marry his daughter to try to save this girl, his daughter, from being a concubine and a really stupid fucking type of life. So, for in his eyes, yeah. So, I mean, to her, that might have been a cool thing to be this man's 13th wife or whatever the fuck, you know, seventh wife or something. But you know, they made it sound appealing, like she'll have shit, you know, she won't have to really do shit. She won't have to be here poor doing nothing with you, you know, like so. But anywho, the man was not into this, so he sought to have them married, and the boy told him that he didn't have no money, that he didn't feel right doing this. And the man said, shit will work out, you know. So they end up getting married. They have a fucking kid and stuff, and things get fucking not better, but much worse. And then so they have no money, and then they're getting sick and shit, and no way to make anything. So this boy on his last fucking on his child's deathbed, he goes out as well. So they're all fucking sick at this point. The mom, the kid, and the fucking boy. And you know, the little boy is young, so he's in real bad condition. And so that all of this has been a blessing for this samurai who is here now telling all of this story. So this has changed this man's life. You know, his daughter getting married to this boy, this blessing happening, and then, you know, this child to come along. He's really cute kid, and he's very fun, and you know, he is this man's grandson, you know. So, but anywho, so his son-in-law goes on this child's deathbed to go and try to beg for money in this manner at this place, and gets done this way by these people. And so the man had suspected this when that man did not come back that night, you know. So he figures all of this shit out himself and goes here for revenge. So he's not gonna commit seppuku in this fucking garden this day. So this motherfucker kills as many of this fucking clan as he can this day. And so this shit does not get out because obviously it's like fucking like there's so many people here, you know, so people talk, you know, like so that this shit does not get out, that, you know, that they're not fucking traditional. These guys that got their fucking top knots cut off by this dude, he has them fucking executed and covers this whole fucking thing up. So apparently this might have been like a real fucking thing. But so go watch it. It's such a gorgeous film. So it's all black and white. It's 1962. The cinematography is fucking amazing. Like they overlight. I like overlighting. I like that that 50s fucking, you know, light everywhere, bounce beams, bounce cards and shit everywhere. So this shit is it's gruesome to watch, and these combat scenes are fucking tits. Yeah, so the combat between him and the samurai, you know, that he hunted down, that were fucking super awesome. So one of them, you know, is like like I was telling you, so they were getting fucking one of them was getting paranoid, you know, that this shit had happened because they were there whenever this shit had happened in their garden. You know, they were a part of it. They all were. It was like fucking like a gang initiation. You know what I'm saying? Like they bullied this kid into killing himself, and he was ill, and they didn't know about his. I don't, you know, or maybe they didn't care, you know. So, but anywho, they did this to him, and that man comes for his revenge, and then he joins his family, you know, in the afterlife. So, watch it, you know, check it out. Like he completely fucking desecrates this place. Oh man, he goes in there and he grabs this ancient fucking statue that these guys like worship, right? So the whatever, you know, the clan head, his armor is encased here on the facility. So it's a very prideful point of this facility, and this fucking battle at the end goes through everything. They go through they go through the whole fucking place, and he goes and grabs this fucking statue, and he fucking throws this shit, and you know, that's what I mean is that that's what this guy, you know, intends to cover up, you know. So anywho, this fucking down out and old man gets down in this film. So you know, tell me what you think. Anywho, see you next time.